Welcome to They Said, She Heard, the podcast where words become turning points. I'm your host, Samantha Gibson. Here we talk with leaders, dreamers, and change makers about one simple question. What was said to you, and how did it move you forward, set you back, or make you rebuild? Because sometimes the words that break us are the same ones that build who we become. Okay, you guys, so before we hop on in, I want to give shout outs. Shout outs to Great American Title out here in Phoenix, Arizona. They are allowing us to use their podcast studio. So next time we'll have those YouTubers watching us a little logo, but the studio is absolutely incredible. I love that they have just taken their time to invest in resources like this for folks like us. So if you have any commercial or residential title needs, Great American Title, I would love for you guys to consider them, and I will make sure to tag them on my social media. I also want to give a really big shout out to those of you that have been putting reviews on the podcast episodes. You guys, that helps tremendously. One of my friends, we actually met through TikTok, Roy. He did a review for me, and it's those reviews that are going to help us continue really just elevating the podcast in front of other people and viewers. So thank you to those that have done that. If you have not done a review, absolutely, I would love nothing more than for you to do that. If any of the podcasts speak to you and really just help you feel like either you're not alone or that you were learning something incredible along the way. So with that said, I am going to introduce you to somebody that I am very biased to. I warn you. She is a friend, a client, a confidant, my exclusive photographer. So I am going to let you introduce your name, your title, and the company.
All right, so I'm Haily Lassiter. I am the owner and photographer at Lassiter's Lens Family Photography. I just started doing this in August full time, so I'm really excited about kicking off my business. And before that, I was teaching.
And my children love her. She's awesome. She has patience of a saint as a teacher, but then also patience of a saint as a photographer. So most of her photography experience is working with kids and families. She's also, now that she is a business owner, diversifying a little bit too. So she's going to be going into some outlets that she hasn't done before.
Yep.
All kinds of exciting stuff.
Lots of fun stuff.
Yes. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to just dive in. I like to try to keep us as close to 20 minutes. So I will wrap us up when we need to wrap up. But other than that, we're just going to have some conversation.
Perfect. Sounds great.
All right. So what is something said to you, and how did it move you forward, set you back, or make you rebuild?
So when I was young, like a little kid, my grandmother used to have me help her with things around her house or in her businesses that she led. And she used to tell me all the time, she would say, "What are you worth?" When I would say, "Hey, Grandma, like, what do you want? Like, I really need to earn some money. What can you do for me?" She'd be like, "Well, what are you worth? I'm going to have you do this. What are you worth?" And that was so impactful on me, even though I didn't realize it back then. I was probably like 8 or 9 the first time she said it to me, and she passed away a few years ago. And like, all I keep thinking about every time I'm like setting pricing or, you know, giving a quote for a job.
Yeah.
She is the first voice that comes to my mind saying like, "What are you worth? What are you worth? What are you worth?" And it's kind of incredible how that can push somebody to like really think about what they're worth, because, you know, she would be negotiating terms with me for helping her out. And then she'd be like, "Well, what are you worth?" And I'd be like, "I don't know." And she was like, "You need to tell me or I'm not paying you anything." And I was like, okay. So then I had to actually think about what the work I was doing was, how much it was worth to me, and how I was going to, you know, negotiate those terms in the future. And so eventually, of her being like, "What are you worth? What are you worth?" I got kind of used to being like, okay, well, I was worth $15, but now I'm worth $20 because last time I did this for you. So she would pay me, you know, $20 an hour to watch her dogs, or $20 an hour to help her clean out her storage units. So what are you worth was like a big pushing point for me. And it's something that I still think about. So I just, you know, when you had asked me the questions, I was like, wow, what am I worth, you know? And so that's something I still consistently, what am I worth? And, you know, sometimes I have clients who are in a lower bracket who are trying to get like very, very cheap or very free photography. And I have to say, you know, that's not what I'm worth now. So yeah.
I love that. So, okay. So there's a couple things when you were sharing that story with me. And I always find again, you believe in the Lord like I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that the Lord places certain people in your life, but then I also believe that the Lord puts certain signs if you're willing to be vigilant enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny to me because, so you guys, those of you that are either new to the podcast so far, or just barely finding us, whatever it is, or if you've been on, I think it's very important that you know, like, all I give my guests are literally just a brief one pager that they can sketch out if they need to sketch something out. But the whole point of the podcast is not to be rehearsed. So in other words, we're not quote unquote reality TV where it's all scripted, right? It's really, the point of it is being able to share authentically what is on your heart. So we did not know where you were going. I do not get their answers to their questions.
No.
Until the moment we all get it at the same time, in essence. And I find it so funny because yesterday when I was scrolling, through, I think it was Facebook. It was either Facebook or TikTok. But there was this post and it was about that Tiffany's, the company, sells a paperclip for $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can sell the paperclip for $1,500, then you need to really evaluate your services and how much you're charging.
Of course.
So I love it's like a sign. I need to start paying attention because I'm doing some, I do real estate, obviously full time, and I love it. And I feel like I'm good at it. I feel like I'm great at it, but I'm learning to kind of diversify a little bit, right? Keep putting some things out there, some content, some different resources out there, just to continue growing my legacy, if you will. When you say what are you worth? Like, I'm curious because you are a brand new entrepreneur from a full-time perspective because you've been doing photography for a long time.
Yeah, I have. It's been about 10 years that I've been doing it. So it's not like I'm brand new to the scene. It's just that I'm brand new to doing it full time.
Right. That you're actually using it for a career.
Yeah. And so I had to reevaluate because like when I was doing it, when I was still working a full-time job and I had an income, it was very much about like, okay, how can I help people and how can I like do more for the person that is, buying the services from me. And I didn't really care how much I made because it didn't matter to me because it's just something that I love to do. And so then when I started doing this as a business, I had to reevaluate how I was pricing my products because I sat down and looked at it and I said, I'm not going to make any money if I sit here and continue charging, $80 for a session or $100 for a session because getting photography clients is something that's really hard because it is a very saturated market. And, when people are looking and you're saying, oh, well, my sessions are $80, that sometimes turns people off as well because it's not, worth it to them because they think, you get what you pay for. And so I had to really sit down and reevaluate and say, like, what am I going to do to change what I've been doing?
Right.
So
one question that I have for you is with what you are worth, and I go back to that because that really is like smart grandma. Like I admire that.
Mm-hmm.
How are you learning? Because I got into real estate 22 years ago. I used to be in new home sales.
Mm-hmm.
So very similar to you, like I wasn't a teacher, but to a certain extent, there's some stability because you have a neighborhood. So people are intentionally coming to buy in your neighborhood or they won't, but for the most part, they're going to buy something, right? So it was more stable. When I branched off and became a realtor, where it was truly 100% commission. And even up to this day, I tell people, I don't think people realize I literally every single month start at 0 cents. I have no money. So if I have no closing, I make no income and I am a provider of children, myself, like I have bills, a mortgage, I have all these things. Right. But 21 years ago, something that I did was I remember saying one of my hardest lessons that I learned was at the beginning, people would say, well, who do you want to work with? Well, I work with anybody and everyone. I call it the slap a noodle to see what sticks. So I was just slapping noodles, right? Getting burnout, running myself ragged, not spending a lot of time with my older kids. At the time, they were really young. So you make all these sacrifices because I hadn't learned what I was truly worth. I just was so desperate to go make a penny in income, and some people have the mindset, well, is, $1 better than nothing, or again, everybody to their own. But for the sake of you, are you learning that lesson? Are you saying no to things, or are you at that stage still where you're saying yes to everything?
A little bit. I will say yes to some things. Like I've found that if I get more desperate to earn an income, that's when I start like kind of cutting myself short. And then I go, oh, why did I do that? You know, like I did some back to school minis back in August, and that was the very, very beginning. And I was like, I haven't made any money all summer. I'm freaking out. So then I was like $35 mini sessions, and they sold. But also I was like, they sold to people who would have probably bought them still if they were $60 or $75. And the mini session is just like a short 10 minutes, so that it is worth that, you know? And I try to keep in mind, you know, from the perspective of a mother, like what is affordable, because I love working with children, and I love out branching myself. But I also love, you know, that's like my really big thing is I love working with babies and kids and expecting moms just because I feel like I have that relatability to them. And so when I did those $35 minis and I sold like 15 of them, I was like, what was I doing? So I have learned to be able to say, like, if I am scrolling and I see somebody who's like, oh, like, I really want a photographer and you don't have to edit the pictures. I just want the pictures, and like, let me know. I'm like, skip, you know, we don't even need to worry about that, because, you know, editing is part of my craft and it's part of my art. And I don't want to give unproduced photos to people. So it's very much, you know, a balancing act of like, when am I going to do it? When am I going to not? But also like, I'm faithful and I know that God provides for us. And that's something I've truly, truly seen. Like, we got to a point with our house where we had to refinance because we weren't sure what was going to happen. And I was like, we got to do something. So we refinanced. And then, you know, we got our money back from the refinance. And I was like, cool, we have some money here. Like, we can do some stuff with that. And we paid, you know, our next mortgage payment. But then we got another check in the mail like months later, after I had been like, what are we going to do? Like, we got to make it through at least this point. And, you know, we have a cousin that's going to be moving in with us. And I was like, we have to make it to December. Like, whatever we do, we got to make it to December. And this check came in the mail and it was just enough to cover our mortgage, like the rest of it that we were missing. And I was like, okay, I said, I'm listening. And the pull to, you know, go full time to photography in general was very much like, I felt very spiritually pulled. It was not oh, like, you hate teaching, so quit teaching. Like, I was conflicting with myself, and I felt a little bit like I was fighting with God. Because I was like, what do you mean be a photographer full time? That doesn't make sense. It's not realistic. And I sat there and I was like, no. And then doors started closing. And then I was like, okay, maybe like I should listen now. And I kind of just shifted my perspective. And I was like, could I actually do this? And I sat down and I was like, if I do this much a month, then I can make like my full-time income. And I haven't done that yet, but that's the big yet, you know, I'm faithful that things are going to kind of turn around and shift, and that we're going to get, you know, a big difference in what we're seeing.
Well, and I think, you know, I know you personally and professionally, and I will say this. I love that all of my guests, I know you guys personally and professionally. I love it. I feel grateful to that, because, you know, to know you is to also know your story, and even you and your hubby. I mean, you guys have a story there, right? And you have two incredible kids. You know, truly, I can honest to God say this, that when I helped you guys get your house, it was one of the best feelings I had, because I love when deserving people get something really great. I really believe, I just love that part. It's the part of my job that there's hard days, and then there's these other moments where you're just like, God, they deserve that. I'm so glad. And then the girls deserve it, you know, like, just, I don't know. It was emotional and just rewarding, and it still is. And, you know, with the success and you know, again, it hits on this topic. Like yesterday, I was panicking myself, again, sole provider, right? And I was panicking, like, okay, Lord, you need to, Samantha, stop being neurotic. You felt called to do the podcast. You felt called to do these certain things, and you need to, because I've kind of branched out and doing some consulting work too, to start talking about mental health, trauma-informed practices and stuff. And again, the panic, because you don't want to fail your kids, because not just, you know, Lydia was talking about this in the previous episode. It's like, it's one thing to fail yourself. It's another thing to fail your family. And there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And I remember just panicking, and literally I was walking into the park. Baker was playing with his friends, in the neighborhood. And I got a text message from someone that I had tried following up about a month ago. I was referred by another realtor to this person. And he's like, Sam, I am so sorry. Life got away from me. But I do want to work with you. And I'm going to be ready this week to talk houses.
That's awesome.
And I just looked up and I was like, okay, Lord, I'm listening to you. I'm going to continue walking to the park and I'm not going to panic because you're going to provide. Yeah. Right. I think that those things, but that's part of, I think worth is also defined not just monetarily, but it's the worth of, are you going to listen? Are you going to follow the conviction and the gift? And because you are gifted to be around children and to be around, like even me, you know my story. Right. The grace that you've extended me, the patience, the support that you have extended me. Those are gifts. Those are not because you have to. Those are because the Lord, I do believe, ingrained those in you.
I believe so as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is super important to me to I want people to know that I am kind. I want to leave a legacy of being kind and supportive, however that needs to happen.
Sure.
And I full on believe that if God only wanted us to live for money, there would have always been money. And that's not the case. The world existed without money before, everybody can still live.
Yeah.
And we did at church, we did this series on control. And one of our pastors said something that I really loved. He said, sometimes you need to pause and pray. And he was like, and that's it. He said, sometimes you have to pause and you have to pray, and you can't continue to, be stressed about what's going to happen next because you're not in control of it anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I believe that honestly, it's just, I don't have any control over what happens next. I just have control over being responsible for what I'm being given right now. And so when I have thought about oh my gosh, I'm panicking, I should go get a job because I totally could. I said, there's lots of places that would definitely hire me and I could go sub, I'm qualified for that. And then I, every time I do a job search, I just have this gut feeling that it's so wrong. I'm I can't do this because I made an agreement with God that I was going to try this out. And so
you're getting further away the more you do that. And I'm in the same boat, right? I've worked real estate full time. And I've done W-2 jobs full time. And the W-2 jobs are, I call them big jobs, but it's usually because it's a large territory, right? Other states and stuff.
Right.
And then I'm juggling motherhood as a co-parent, all these moving parts.
Yeah.
And this is a season that my instinct, I find my moment in these, and I'm reading this book called U-Turn by Ashley Stahl. I'll have to get you a copy. Remind me of that.
Okay.
But it has been such a game changer because it's reminding me that even though I'm getting scared, the scared is actually a good thing. And then I had posted about Judy Holler. She's this awesome speaker and author. She just launched a new book actually. And she is all about leaning into your fears. And I keep reminding myself, Sam, you're being scared, but that's a good thing. You being scared is good. You need to stop because or else you're going to go back to comfort and you can't go back to comfort anymore. You're not supposed to. The door's shut.
Right.
And you need to stop. And it's so scary. And maybe,
it is.
I don't know.
It's terrifying.
You men out there, if you're listening to this episode, I truly, sincerely would love your feedback because I'm curious if men process the same way as women do. Because for us, it's a fear of, especially as a mom, it's failing our children. There is something paralyzing to me about that. The thought that I would let them down.
Right.
Was scary to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, I will say this. So my internal clock is telling me that we're running out of time. I really appreciate you being here.
Of course.
This is your first podcast. This is your first
exciting.
Entrepreneur thing.
Yay.
Doing good thing. We will definitely have to have you come back because I think that there is a story to be shared. Even just, again, marriage and children, there is stuff there.
Yeah.
It would be a really cool episode, I think, because again, I know you personally. So, but with that said, before we wrap up, everybody that comes gets to pick a question.
Ooh, okay.
You get to read the question out loud, but you cannot answer it today. So when your episode goes live, so y'all are going to hear it today. It will drop on the day. We're pre-recording, right? But today will be the day. Go follow her on social media to find her answer. And you get to be as creative or as simple as you want.
Oh, that's exciting.
I'm answering, but yeah.
All right. So I'm reading it out loud.
Yep. Just read it, but don't answer.
What is one daily habit that secretly made you feel unstoppable?
Okay.
Ooh,
So
all right.
when your episode goes live, she will be sharing that. You guys, I say this each episode, but it is really, really important. Haily even talked about it, leaving a legacy. I hope that my legacy is that I have made a difference in people's lives. I hope that today's episode, you gain from it whatever you needed to gain out of it. If it's something that you feel someone in your circle or your life, or maybe even a stranger that had a casual conversation with you, or someone on your LinkedIn or your Facebook, whatever it is, share this. You never know who needs to hear what they need to hear. But I always want to send you off with the reminder that I see you, I love you, you matter to me, you sincerely do. And with that, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.